This episode is brought to you by Dick Dyer Mercedes-Benz, the first Mercedes-Benz in South Carolina.
During the pandemic, and this goes back to kind of VA, not sure if they want to get a VA loan or if they want to go and get the conventional. During the pandemic, so many borrowers were refinancing at the time. Are the VA borrowers able to refinance just like any other borrower, or is there a stricter law of rules that they need to follow?
VA absolutely can refinance, and actually, there's another great benefit of doing a VA loan. One of the reasons we love them and what we love to talk to veterans about is that you can not only refinance it, you can do a cash out refinance, you can do a rate and term refinance. They even have a special product VA does. It's a special loan that is called we call it a VA IRRL, an IRRL, a VA interest rate reduction refinance loan, because we love acronyms and VA loans. But and you don't even have to requalify for that one. We can just roll it as long as you've made your payments on time. We can just roll you down to the lower rate. So it is a quick and inexpensive process, and a lot of people took advantage of that because we did a lot of VA loans previously. So during 20 and 21, we were able to do a lot of those VA IRRLs and get them into a much lower rate very quickly and painlessly. And I had another thought, if you don't mind. I don't want to
Go ahead.
Talk the whole time. But one of the things talking about having your contract or your offer accepted with a VA, that was something I'm actually a mortgage voice on the CCRA, the Central Carolina Realtor Association Contract Committee. And that was one of the big things, was talking about how do we make VA loans not scary to a seller or to a listing agent. One of the you may recall, there was a piece in there about the seller had to pay for the VA, the CL100, that termite letter.
Yeah,
that is no longer a requirement. Another piece of there was actually a piece of the contract was talking about the VA non-allowable costs, and because it wasn't always known precisely what that would be, it got built up in people's mind like, oh my gosh, the seller is going to be responsible for all of these non-allowed costs. Well, when you really boil it down, there are very few items that could even possibly, under some rare circumstance, raise their head and even crop up. So we made it in the contract so you could see how limited that opportunity was. So sellers didn't feel like they were signing over something and they don't know exactly what this big expense is going to be. So really wanted that contract to be a lot more VA friendly, because it is a tremendous asset to the veterans, and it should be well received by the real estate community.
So are there other benefits, if you're an active duty military, you come in, say you get assigned to Fort Jackson or, McIntyre Air Base, you buy a home here, and then, maybe just because of unforeseen circumstances, 8 months later, you're stationed somewhere else. Are VA loans flexible with military personnel, in terms of buying, selling, needing to move because of assignments, or is it just more of like, typical, they just have to put their house up for sale and sell it like everybody else and still be responsible, for it?
Well, I think what you will see is that there's some flexibility in the sense that you can keep the house and with a VA loan on it and rent it to someone else. So there's no preclusion to that, even if it happens inside the first year. Certainly at closing, the veteran is signing saying that they intend to occupy, and that was their intention at the time that they closed it. If they got orders that changed and moved them, well, then so be it. That was a change of their intent. Yeah. As at the Citadel, we've heard the story about being voluntold. They were told they were going somewhere, so they have to move. But that doesn't mean that they can't rent that property out. They can lease that property out and cover it. Here's another interesting thing: VA loans are not one and done. So that veteran could have been here at Shaw, McIntyre, Fort Jackson. They have their home. They get transferred out, whether it's inside of 1 year or 10, whenever it is. They can rent that property, and then they can buy another house wherever they're going and use a VA loan again They're not limited to just one. There's a couple little restrictions about how many you can have. Of course, you got to qualify for these loans, but the point is, that does not have to be the only VA. You can have more than one VA loan at a time. So yes, in that regard, it is offering some financing flexibility.
Actually, George and I have worked with a client in that situation. She had retired out of the Navy, had settled outside of Southport, North Carolina, took a job over in Sumter with one of the big healthcare providers in the area. And so she had used the VA loan to buy her first house in North Carolina, and she used the VA loan to purchase her house here in South Carolina. So, it's nice that there's that understanding that, these folks, even in retirement, circumstances change. So it's good that you can have that flexibility and be able to, continue to use that product again and again as much as you can. So how, I'm trying to think so are we limited just to purchasing either newly built or existing homes? Can veterans, current and retired, get a construction loan if they want to go out and build their own house, buy their own property?
Yes, one of the awesome things about our structure as a brokerage is we get to have a variety of options for our borrowers. So one that we're super excited about that we just added is a VA construction loan. It's an interesting product, and believe it or not, it's actually 100% financing as well. Like purchasing a new home, we can finance 100% of this construction loan. And there's also no payments during the construction phase, which is very interesting. No interest-only payments, no principal payments, nothing until the construction is complete, and then it wraps into a 30-year fixed rate.
So is there a time limit on that? Like the construction has to be complete within 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, or is it just open-ended until there's, the contractor signs the house over to them, says he's ready to close, and there's a certificate of occupancy issued?
There are time constraints on the VA construction loan, and those vary lender to lender. But I think the typical time constraint is 12 months.
Okay.
So they're able to get a construction loan and build on the property, but are they able to buy land itself without the intention of building on it?
You said without the intention of building on it?
Yeah. So are they able to get a VA loan just for the land?
No, they can, to the best of my knowledge. We don't finance just land, but we can finance the land and construction in one loan.
Awesome.
It has to be maybe I need to make that point, but on VA, it has to be a primary residence.
Okay.
You can't use the VA loan and guarantee to buy a second home, investment property. Like we just talked about, it may turn into an investment property in the sense that, but that was not at the beginning. At the beginning, it was just your intent was not be your primary residence. And it can be, as we just talked about, Avery was just talking about new construction. It can be new. It can be existing stock. It can be manufactured housing, mobile home they have rules about how the foundation has got to be. It can be a condo. So that as long as it's going to be your primary residence, most things are open to you to purchase.
Great. So is there anything at this point that we haven't covered about VA loans for active duty and retired personnel that we want them to know about so that they will, seek out this product if they're in the market to buy a home?
I think we've talked about pretty much everything. I would just encourage people not to let some of the misconceptions about VA loans deter you from taking one, because the product's made to help veterans, and it does an excellent job of that. It's a fantastic product, 100% financing. If you have any disability income, that funding fee is completely waived, which that's an awesome help to some of our service members as well. James, what do you think? Did we miss anything?
Well, the only thing I was going to say, and I don't want to drag us on too long or into the weeds too deep on some of the lender land mortgage stuff, but VA does bring some flexibility in the sense that they have a little bit of extended underwriting process. When I say extended, I don't mean more time or even more work for the borrower, but it's just things that on the lender side, we're going to be looking at. They have things like residual income. The benefit of that is it sometimes will enable us to go up on what we call a debt to income ratio that is higher than what may be allowed with conventional loans. So there's some things like that we can bring some flexibilities where we can help a veteran get into a home, get into more home than what they thought they could have before, or what they could have with a conventional loan, in addition to obviously bringing 100% financing, so that it makes it a lot easier to buy. So there's a lot of things like that we can talk about. It also allows for the seller to pay transaction costs. So the seller can pay up to 4% of the purchase price towards the transaction costs. So you could have a situation where the veteran's bringing no money to the table, or even getting some or part of their earnest money back. So it just brings a lot of latitude that enables you guys to help your clients get into houses.
Yes. So, and as always, in any situation where George and I work with clients, or anybody looking to work with clients, and they're just starting the process, they need to be referred to you guys like you, so you can do your work with them, setting them up to be successful, to get pre-qualified, so that when they go shopping with us, so to speak, they know what they can afford. They know, they can reach out to you guys to get a letter of pre-qualification when they're ready to write that offer. So Avery, do you want to talk a little bit maybe about working with buyers on the front end, what they need to, kind of consider as veterans? Because, a lot of times these are, younger adults, never bought a home before. What do you advise them to do to begin that process?
Yeah, I'd say, some of the things we look at are income, credit, and assets. So even if it's 100% financing, probably going to need some cash reserves to pay your mortgage if something went wrong, say. Going to need money for closing costs unless the agent negotiates seller concessions. For closing costs, we're looking at $6,000 to $9,000. And then I want to say the credit score minimum for a VA loan is about 620 with most of our lenders. So make sure your credit, and the higher the better, but make sure you're over that 620 minimum, and give us a call. And I think a misconception with young buyers is they think they have to be ready to buy a home when they call a lender. We're in the business of helping people, so we want you to call us way ahead of time so we can get on it and make sure we're squared away. So when you're ready to buy in 6 months, in a year, we're ready to write that letter and say you're pre-approved.
Awesome.
Absolutely. That's going to be critical, because sometimes clients are surprised at how much house they can buy, and sometimes they may be conversely surprised at how much it would. But our goal is to help be a resource. Like Avery was saying, we want them to know what they can do. Like a good friend of mine said, we want to do the before math so you don't deal with the aftermath. So when they come to Avery, he's going to make sure that we know everything that we need to know, that the client, most importantly, knows what they need to know, how much money they're going to need it to have at the closing table, what's their monthly payment, so that they can go forth with confidence, basically putting money in their pocket. When they come to see you guys, they can go out in the field and buy with confidence. One thing I did want to add, Avery's right about the 620, in a sense that a lot of lenders have that as a minimum. VA does not have a minimum score, and we actually can do them down in 600, even to 580. You do have some challenges sometimes getting that 580 approved. So he is right to say the pricing is kind of around that 620 and up, but we can do a VA lower than that, and we do close them. So don't let that be a hindrance. Or Avery can even help work with you if you need to get it where you want it to be for different pricing options. He can help with that as well. So we just want to be a resource.
Yeah, thanks for adding that in, James.
Well, we appreciate you guys being a partner with us, trying to work in the community, doing education around first-time home buying. Y'all partnered with us a couple of times on some first-time home buyers workshops, so we thank you for that. James and Avery, people, hopefully veterans are going to be listening to this podcast after it comes out. If they're interested in the home buying process and want to work with you guys to, provide that VA funding, how can they get in touch with you guys to start that process?
Get in touch with us. Call here at the office. Avery will be able to work with you or myself as well. But Avery's number here at the office is 803-765-4522. Come to our website at yourfmc.com as well.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. Or call you guys up and get our numbers from them.
Definitely.
Awesome.
This episode of The Cool Guys is sponsored by Bell Carrington, Price and Gregg. Bell Carrington is our choice for the best real estate attorneys in town. They are highly communicative and make sure that the closing process is as smooth as possible. With offices in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama, they can handle any of your real estate finance, eminent domain, financial services litigation, and litigation needs. Call their Columbia SC office today at 803-509-5078.